I don't get physical. They say I pissed you off and I'm caught in your crosshairs. Oh, well I can budget just to be there your way. Oh, I'm a league and I think we all know that. Well I'll go. I don't get physical. I don't get physical. I don't get physical. I don't get physical. One, two, one.
Oh my god, do I shut it down? Ah, here it is. Hello, my friends, Operator Starsky here. As always, it's a pleasure to see you guys. Just a brief update, as we traditionally do on our channel. First of all, yesterday we had this amazing fundraiser with legendary people on a YouTube, Anna from Ukraine, Jake Bro, Sergey Sumlenny, and other guys. And it was fantastic. So just a small update from Sergey. He says that yesterday, during 25 hours, they managed to fundraise 256,000 euro, which will be spent on drones. And the guys that build those drones, they're like extremely happy because now they will have to like build them all themselves, which is really, really cool. Guys, thank you so much for your support. You have no idea how extremely important it is to support Ukraine, because I keep saying this, but you know, there are people out there that you will probably never see yourself in the offline, but because of your support they will see tomorrow, and this is extremely, extremely important. When you go to sleep today or tomorrow, just think about it, that there are Ukrainians who will survive thanks to you. Guys, you are amazing. And we have another update from Kharkiv, not really a positive one, because today in Kharkiv there was a Russian airstrike and they dropped another bomb on a multi-story civilian house. Currently there is evacuation and rescue operation ongoing. Tomorrow I will report about the details and everything I know about it right now. And today we have a really interesting topic, the Russian cult of death. Why Russians commit, you know, self-annihilation on the battlefront in Ukraine. Why do they do that? Why, when they're wounded or left behind, or generally when there's like drones hunting them during the combat, why do they choose to end their lives voluntarily? This is something that we could see on numerous videos coming from Ukraine, on drone footages, etc. Mostly, of course, drone footages. But why do they do that? And in order to answer this question, we will have to... My God, where was this? It was here, of course. In order to answer this question, my friends, we will have to dive a bit into the history. So 1942, like Putin, like 800 years ago. 1942, Russians. It came from the chief of the general staff of the Red Army, but this order was later rewritten by Stalin himself because Red Army was massively retreating from the advancing German troops. And seeing that, Russians decided to increase morale of the demoralized Red Army. How do you increase morale? Well, of course, you need somebody who would motivate you. And one of the motivators that were introduced by Russians back in those days, Torn the Music Band, hello, hello, I'm doing very well. Thank you so much. I hope you're doing too. So when Stalin realized that Soviet Red Army, there were plenty of Ukrainians that were thrown into meat grinder and all kinds of meat attacks. He realized that Red Army requires motivation. In 1943, Stalin created a branch of the NKVD KGB / ЧК called Russian Orthodox Church, right? Red Patriarchate, you know that. But in 1942, he issued an order number 227 that became legendary in Russia. This order basically says not a single step backwards. So according to this order, the troops that were retreating because they were considered cowards and war criminals, basically, it was advised to shoot them on sight. And all the deserters, all the people who would withdraw from battle, they would be shot exactly where they are. So it was a really good motivation for the Russian army, because otherwise they would keep retreating. And by introducing this order, not a single step backwards, and by introducing the so-called barrier troops, Putin managed to basically push his army like cattle forward and just push and push and push until they went all the way to Berlin. But there is such an interesting thing as barrier troops, my friends. And barrier troops were already introduced in the Red Army already during the Soviet-Finnish War. When Stalin invaded Finland, they already had so-called barrier troop. So what do the barrier troops do? The barrier troops is basically a bunch of specifically trained personnel that stands behind the lines in the Russian army, and their role is to stop the retreating troops. Because when we go and check, for example, this beautiful website, Barrier Troops, we can see that there is a long history after it. And of course, in most cases, they mention communist countries like Soviet Red Army. They mention, actually, on the Russian Wikipedia, there's much more information about it. There are some really good photos as well, but it's in Russian, unfortunately. So in Syrian army, by the way, so-called barrier troops, or like one of the variants of barrier troops, were also introduced. And in Syrian army, behind the lines of advancing Bashar Assad's terrorist troops, there were Wagnerites, basically. There were Russian Wagnerites who conducted the functions of the barrier troops. Also, like Russian ground forces, you can see a lot of that stuff implemented in the Russian army, and I believe that you already saw the footage from the drones showcasing those extremely interesting gentlemen. Here, for example, I have another piece of information for you guys. There was a small research conducted by our British friends, and they also exposed using the barrier troops in the Russian army. So Russian army is likely threatening to shoot deserters amid low morale. And we saw that. We saw the drone footage of Kadyrovites shooting their own troops. It was on Twitter everywhere. Basically, you can Google it and find it yourself. There were such cases. Also, a lot of Russians themselves reported using barrier troops. They were basically crying on a video to their commanders that there are barrier troops behind us, we cannot retreat, there's death on both sides. In front of us, behind us, there's death everywhere. Barrier troops were introduced back then, but they never disappeared. And in 1942, this order, because it's considered that in 1942 the barrier troops were like officially adopted in the Red Army, but it's not like that. Actually, barrier troops, they already existed in the Red Army, as I already mentioned, but besides that, in the Order 227, it was advised to create those troops inside of the Red Army, because before that, the NKVD forces were used to stop retreating Russian troops, retreating Soviet troops. NKVD was basically like internal troops, internal forces, like National Guard in the United States, for example, or in Ukraine. But in the United States, it's a National Guard of a healthy human. In Red Army, it was a National Guard of a smoker. In the Red Army, NKVD were involved into mass shooting civilians, into disposing of bodies, etc., etc. There was this crazy case. That I served in the National Guard, and National Guard in Ukraine used the same facilities that were used by the NKVD troops in Ukraine. We basically inherited all the resources and everything else that was left after the NKVD. So there was this reconstruction going, and I will just Google this for you because it's insane. NHU, I think it's still in the internet somewhere. Yeah, it was in Drohobych. So in Drohobych, it was the university in Drohobych. The remains were found. There was a different case. There was a different case in one of the military units of the National Guard of Ukraine. They were doing excavations and renovations of the territory. And during the excavations, they found remains of civilians that were shot by NKVD forces, like after the World War II. And it was crazy. But according to this order that was issued by Stalin, you could create barrier troops already inside of the Red Army units without requiring any support, any assistance from the NKVD. You could basically take your personnel and create this specific unit within your like division, for example, and they would stand behind your troops, Red Army troops, and they would shoot you in the back or in the front if you retreat. They were armed with machine guns. There were officers, of course, armed with those Nagan revolvers and Tata, those old ones, and they would shoot retreating troops. That is why basically after introduction all this shit, including the meat assaults, traditional for the Russian army, you saw hundreds of them. Okay, you saw hundreds of them on the footage. After introduction of all this stuff, Russian personnel basically has absolutely no choice. And it's not only because this like exists in reality. Nobody tells you about it. There's this Russian propaganda showing this absolutely amazing Russian army, professional Russian army that is like unbeatable, legendary, that can easily take NATO, etc., etc. And then naive Russian Vanka from some freaking Ust-Pizdysk recruits himself there, and then he gets dragged to like Avdiivka and he dies in the meat assault, and nobody told him. There are such cases, but there are cases when Russian commanders openly talk about it. And today, my friends, I prepared this small video for you. I will watch it together with you if you don't mind.
Должно быть велико ваше заблуждение, когда вы считаете, что я стал бы ходатайствовать или просить, или что-то делать, чтобы вас вытащить из этого плена. На самом деле, я вас вообще никак не уважаю. Я не считаю, что вы заслуживаете вообще даже жизни. Потому что меня удивляет, как вы собираетесь, после того, как вы подняли лапы и сдались как девочки в плен, как вы собираетесь вообще жить? Как вы будете смотреть в глаза своим домашним? Как вы будете смотреть в глаза своим детям, внукам? По большому, даже сейчас вы находитесь в плену, просто встаньте, возьмите что-нибудь, ручку, гвоздь, накиньтесь на кого-нибудь и сделайте все для того, чтобы вас убили. Для того, чтобы закончить свой путь, хотя бы теперь мужчинами. Когда вы сдались в плен, вы нарушили обет, из-за чего сразу автоматически вы подпадаете под людей, которые сошли со священного пути. И встает вопрос. Почему вы считаете, что после этого вас кто-то должен вообще вытаскивать из плена?
My friends, what you just saw was a Russian/Kadyrovite commander. He's a commander of those guys. The super pooper Russian/Chechen. It's a mistake to call them Chechen, okay? Because Chechen fighters who fight for Ukraine, they despise them so much, and they are basically cursed. But they come from the territory of Chechnya, and this is the glorious, mighty Russian Spetsnaz called Kadyrovites. And this man that you just saw is the commander of their unit. Okay, he's the main chief. He's the guy responsible for Kadyrov is responsible for those TikToks, and this dude responsible for everything else. But recently he discovered his talent for making such cringy videos, and this dude is like commander of your dreams. He's like the best motivator you can find. Like, why do you think I should even care about you if you surrendered? Like, you like stupid pricks. Like, are you soldiers or piece of shit? You know, he's like perfect commander. It's so cool. And it's really it's not about religion, because you know they share a lot of videos of those Kadyrovites dying. You know, there's this dying Kadyrovite who dies with a peaceful smile on his face, and there's his happy brother who records him, and this dying Kadyrovite probably thinks, I'm so happy. My wife and my 6 kids will be absolutely happy, and they will be absolutely celebrating my death because I died like a hero. And then he dies and worms eat him. And this absolutely happy wife with 6 kids, she will have to find some kind of job, you know, to feed all of them. But this example of Russian commanders, this individual, unlike Russians, he's not really cunning. He's not smart enough to be cunning. That's why he openly tells his soldiers that nobody's gonna get you out of jail. Nobody's gonna get you out of captivity. That is why Kadyrovite soldiers in Ukrainian captivity, of course, they have all chance to survive and then probably, like, I don't know, fight in the Russian liberation troops. Terry Vivchar, hello, my friend. It's so cool to see you. It's been a while. Barrier troops. Reason number 1, there is death in front of you, there is death behind you. That is why there is absolutely no sense to live and you know, and expect to see future, expect to see tomorrow for Russian soldiers. Reason number 2 is commanders don't give a damn about, like, not a slightest damn. In Russian units like Spetsnaz, like air assault units, the situation is a bit different because Russian mechanized brigades, Russian mechanized units, motorized troops, they are used as, you know, a horde of orcs that can be easily burned in the meat assault. The other ones, like Spetsnaz and air assault troops, they are like Übermenschen, okay? Those are Untermenschen, and those considered Übermenschen. They are taught how to fight. They are basically like the infantry should look like in a proper country, okay? Whatever is considered proper, like mechanized unit in, I don't know, Netherlands, right, or in the United States, that is the elite of Russian army because they are basically the only combat-worthy guys. Like for example, those that we were fighting in Hostomel. They died though. As for Chechens, Kadyrovites, I remember our first encounter with them in 2015 in the area of Pisky. No, that was a different one, in the area of Marinka. You probably saw my video about my story of a cop in Donbass, and you saw a picture of a separatist, of a terrorist that we captured. He was wounded, and there was another guy who died. And that dude, judging from his facial features and beard, etc., he was basically one of the Kadyrovites. And when we took his body, we took this dead Kadyrovite and the wounded, the other wounded prick. When we took his body, his phone started calling, and his commander called. His commander talked to our commander, and he said, please return the body of our soldier. And that's why I wasn't able to, you know, like take the phone from that guy because it was needed, but I took the phone from the wounded one, and that's why you saw those amazing pictures of him having a barbecue with his friends in Donbass. That is reason number 2. commanders care about you when you're dead, basically, because it gives them opportunity to visit a widow and make like this very good emotional and motivational video from meeting a widow, like handing her a pack of fish or vegetables or I don't know, eggs, and telling her that the army will take care of her from now on. Her kids will, of course, be cared by the Russian army in the future. Like, welcome, we expect them to see here. And that is extremely, extremely cool for like Russian propagandists. That makes a really, really good image, really good picture. Reason number three. Reason number three is Russian medical support sucks. Russian losses. If we take Russian losses, there is approximately 1 dead versus 2 wounded, which is extreme. It's crazy. In Ukrainian army, it's approximately 1 to 8. 1 to 5 in worst case. In usual case, it's 1 to 8 on average. Why is that? Is because Russian medical support sucks. For example, tell me what is this? I will wait just a minute so it buffers for me just a bit. Guys, do you know what is this on the picture? I hope you do. We had that stuff ourselves like back in the days, in the old style Ukrainian army. I really, really hope that you know what is this. Okay, we have a version, which is a tourniquet. And it's almost a tourniquet. It's not what the proper tourniquet is. The proper tourniquet... Oh my god, where... come on, switch it for me. This is... my god. This is the proper tourniquet, my friends. This one here. Okay? This is the proper tourniquet. This one, cat. This is the tourniquet that you use to stop bleeding, okay? And proper armies, sane people use them nowadays in order to stop bleeding. In case you have a wound, you have a wounded limb. Arm, leg, whatever. Everything besides head, okay? It's either arm or leg. You can stop bleeding using the tourniquet. All proper armies nowadays, modern armies nowadays, are trained to use those. We were trained to use those all the time, as long as I remember myself. Back in 2015, okay? This shit, well, it kind of saved lives a bit, but this shit here is called S-marks cord, I would say. Like, technically it's a tourniquet, but it's not. It's an S-marks cord, жгут S-marha in Russian language. It's not a belt. It also looks like works like a tourniquet. It's basically a rubber band, as simple as that. And when orc gets wounded, he takes that stuff, he unwraps it, and then he starts wrapping the shit around his arm or leg if he doesn't choose to like shoot himself, right? That's what he does to stop bleeding. It's a rubber band. Now, it's used in the Russian army, it's used in all kinds of hybrid armies, it's used like by Russians generally, and Russians think that this is extremely cool. It's a Spetsnaz style. There is, this Spetsnaz starter pack, which is basically like a mustache, striped shirts, and gloves without fingers, right? Fingerless gloves, because it's like, we'll talk about it later, and this shit. And this shit is usually in Russian army, because we're talking about Russian army. This shit is usually wrapped around the stock of your rifle. Technically, you're not supposed to do that, okay? Technically. But when you take a look at Russian soldiers, for example, like those Chechens, right? You can see exactly in the middle of the photo, there's this dude wearing a warm winter hat, and around the stock of his AK wrapped this X-Mars cord. Then there is another one on the right, second from the right. There is the same story. Okay? Then if we take a look, for example, at this one, you can see it's the same story. And this one is even cooler because this one is, oh my God, this is AK with foldable stock. Okay, and inside of the stock, you can put, for example, a bandage, and around the bandage, you can wrap that S-Marks cord. Or, for example, this one. You can see a lot of that on the footage. For example, when there's a footage showing Russian invaders, you can generally see this, like something like that, this trend of wrapping this cord around the stock of the rifle. So why is it bad? It's bad and it's never recommended. But the reason for that is because of sun rays, because of weather, because of everything else. This band gets weathered. Either it gets like, just dry and loses its elastic abilities, or it just gets really, really weathered and scratched, etc., etc. If you have a rifle, it will get scratched, because if you served, you know that all kinds of stuff happen to your rifle when you ride on a vehicle, like on a BTR or inside a BTR, or like crawling around. All kinds of stuff happens to your rifle. You receive like this extremely beautiful and clean rifle, and then within like 2 weeks, there's all kinds of shit, like all kinds of scratches. There's constantly like soil in the stuck in the muzzle flash, etc., etc. So same stuff with everything that is wrapped around the stock. And when this S-Marks cord / tourniquet gets weathered, it pops. And Russian soldiers usually find themselves in this situation when, this orc lies down on the ground bleeding, and he starts wrapping this cord around his leg, and it pops. And basically he realizes that he's losing a lot of blood, and there's no way to stop it. And eventually he dies. Their medical support sucks big time. But this reason number 3, also transforms into reason number 4, because their medical supply and medical support basically sucks. That is the reason why in most cases, if you are wounded, you will not be evacuated in the Russian army. again, you saw numerous footages showing like Russian soldiers either dropping their wounded or just running over them, or just like literally abandoning them wherever they can. And this is another reason why they prefer to shoot themselves, is because they know that they will not be evacuated, which sucks. And in Ukrainian army, we spent so much time learning how to evacuate personnel, how to evacuate ourselves, how to evacuate wounded guys. And we dedicate tremendous amount of time learning how to do that. Learning how to apply a tourniquet in the red zone, for example. In the red zone, you're not going to act according to March or TCCC. Your maximum what you can do is just apply a tourniquet to your wounded comrade and evacuate him or her. But Russians don't really do that. I saw several videos of them like training, but they don't dedicate enough of time to this. They don't really care much. Why? Because who the hell cares about you in the Russian army? So that is the thing. Another thing I would like to talk about is, so we covered the barrier troops, we covered commanders, we covered medical support sucks, we covered evacuation. What was the fifth one? I will tell you when I remember. Sorry, I forgot. But another thing is propaganda, of course. What do I mean? Again, they have plenty of extremely cool advertisements, cool movies about Russian Spetsnaz in like Chechnya or like in Ukraine. They have plenty of cool ads on their TV, emotional ads calling people to go and serve in the army, etc., etc. And a lot of people actually recruit. Currently, Russians are able to recruit approximately 1,000 people a day. Approximately, okay? And those recruits, they actually break all kinds of records, because I believe that the fastest one died last year. It took him, I don't remember, was it like 5 or 6 days before he got recruited and then died in Ukraine? I think it was like 5 days or 6. But then there was another dude. I talked about him in some of my videos. It took him like 2 days. He got mobilized. In 2 days, he was improved by the Ukrainian forces. That is amazing. And when they go there to the front lines, and when they realize that they were lied to all the time, and that there is absolutely nothing beautiful here, and that it's you either die or die, there is no other option for you. You cannot retreat, you cannot withdraw, you will be shot in the back, you will not be evacuated, your first aid kit sucks because there's nothing there besides, like, empty glass for vodka. It's just like, it's the worst place you can imagine. But unfortunately, propaganda is very, very strong. And if we're talking about the Russian propaganda, for example, in Africa, we know that Russian Wagner is really, really active in the African countries. Here, for example, you can see specifically where they operate or where they were spotted in the African countries. And Africa became one of the sources for the Russian recruits, for the Russian, for their, how to call this, mercenaries in the Russian army. Because I remember, back in the days when they only started this invasion, there were rumors about Russia trying to recruit mercenaries in Syria, in Libya. It was back in 2022. But there were different rumors, and those latest rumors about them were saying that Libyan and Syrian people, they watched the news because Russians generally watch only like Russian news, and Syrians and Libyans, they surf through like Twitter, etc. They know like English on a basic level. And when they saw all those Russian columns on fire, attacking like Irpin, attacking Kharkiv, literally on fire, they realized that, those money are not worth dying in a foreign country. Not at all. That's why their recruitment campaign in Syria and Libya failed in 2022. There were like cases, but not numerous cases, when they were able to recruit people there. Russians were more successful in Nepal, in South American countries, Venezuela, Colombia, and of course Africa. In Africa, they produced like this recruiting leaflets for the local population. And guys from African countries, when they saw the leaflets where they're promised like $2,000 like immediate payment for getting recruit to the Russian army, to the most professional Russian army, I'm talking about this one. You see those Uruk-hai marching on the Red Square, right? So when they saw them on photos and they thought, oh, Russia, the biggest army in the world, they have airplanes, they have ships, they have like insane fleet, they have nuclear weapons, and they are fighting a winning war in Ukraine. They basically fight already like on the Polish border, right, in Lviv, closing the surrounding of Lviv, encirclement. And you're also offered $2,000 besides the first payment, also $2,000 monthly, also citizenship in Russia. And speaking of Russia, of course, we don't talk about shed like Omsk, shed like Ussurisk, shed like, I don't know, Ryazan. We're not talking about shitty places. When we talk about Russia, of course, we imagine beautiful neons of Moscow city in the night, people kissing, soldiers marching, tanks on the streets, etc., etc. When you think about it, of course, your imagination draws like really, really attractive picture. Reality, unfortunately, is really, really different from imagination. You remember I posted the photo of like African, I think he was a teenager, maybe 18 years old, who died on the battlefield in Donetsk, Oblast. In the end, this is what they see. And Russians specifically, what is their motivation? Of course, if you want to motivate a soldier to fight a war of invasion in a foreign country which didn't attack you, it's you are the one who invaded it, right? You are the one who violated all kinds of international law. How do you make this dude fight for you? Especially if you're the one promoting, heroic death for your motherland, but you yourself, you're like hidden in a freaking bunker in the middle of Russian nowhere. How do you motivate people to fight for you? There's only one motivation: death. You either go forward and there's a tiny chance you will survive, or you just retreat and there is 100% that you will die. You will be shot. Wagner writes, this is such an interesting evolution of Wagnerites, for example, when we're talking about Wagnerites, because in Syria, Wagnerites were the barrier troops in Syria. They were following the Bashar Assad forces, and they were shooting them when they were trying to retreat. In, for example, area of Avdiivka, there were already barrier troops introduced for Wagnerites, because when Wagnerites would retreat, those barrier troops would shoot them. This is such an evolution. It's like, like this never-ending circle of Russian world. You are born to die. That is the main motivation. People fooled by money, people fooled by goods, by loot, by opportunity to do whatever you like without being punished, which is Russians do, unfortunately. And the only thing that can basically stop them is biological death. That was my fifth explanation of this, my friends. Guys, I want to say that in just a bit more than 1 hour, Rick, the Ukrainian, my bro, will be streaming on his channel. This is something really, really important. You have, you don't have to. You are encouraged to go and visit the stream. And I will be really happy to answer your questions, guys, because I can. Oh my god, this is so cool that, I can see questions asked in the chat. Very, very easy. Is it true that President Zelensky is calling for ceasefire? Just saw a heading in Hindustan. Hindustan, my friend, is the most reliable source of information you can imagine. Hindustan Digest, or I don't remember how it's called. Do you need barrier troops for barrier troops? That's exactly what I was talking about just a minute ago. It's like, evolution of Russian suffering. It's first you have barrier troops stopping like the army from withdrawing, and then you have to have like barrier troops for these barrier troops. I will show you just a small. Damn it! How do I change it? Just a small image I found. It was, it was in the days when the UN had balls, actually. Here you can see the leaflet that was produced by the United Nations, and this leaflet shows Chinese. Oh, wait. Because I don't want to... yeah. So this is, on the left, this is Stalin, and Stalin is pushing the Chinese, who pushes the North Korean soldier. This is the leaflet that was made during the times of the of the Korean War. And of course, the very idea of the barrier troops was copy-pasted from Russia, like all the ugliest things in the world, including things like gulags that were introduced in the Nazi Germany. All that was copy-pasted from communist Soviet Union, as far as I remember. And this is the Chinese soldier who pushes the North Korean soldier. There were quite a few of them, actually. I enjoy... I really, really enjoy those leaflets produced back in the days, because propaganda didn't disappear anywhere. And when you check out keyword in Russian saying Zagrad Отряд, when you check it, of course, you will see these gentlemen with like machine guns, okay, times of the World War II, you will see those. This one is really interesting, like Russian soldiers and the machine gun that is not like on the flank, but generally like behind their backs. Really, really interesting. There's a lot of footage, of course, of Russian barrier troops shooting their soldiers on the Ukrainian front line. Unfortunately, I cannot show them here on the YouTube because YouTube doesn't like it very much. But it's really, really easy to find it in Google, in Twitter specifically, because in Twitter, you can find all kinds of crazy shit. What's going to happen to the captive Chechens now that even their own officers don't want them back? Well, they have a choice. It's either... Oh, we have air alert in Ukraine. It's either they will stay in prison and like after doing their time, eventually, sometime in the future, they will be deported back to the territory of Russia. Or they can join the voluntary corps, the Russian freedom fighters that help Ukrainian armed forces to fight against the Russian invaders. Do you remember the drone clip of the Ruski commander getting killed by his own? Yeah, why does it happen? It happens because, you know, Russian commanders are like the commanders level god. They're commanders of your dream. It's nothing like a father, right? In the, I don't know, in the NATO country. It's a dude who literally hates you because, like, there's no people, there's no problems. Russian commanders hate their personnel. The biggest reason for that is because in proper country, in proper army, you have strong sergeant corps. And sergeant corps' responsibility is to solve all the problems with the personnel. Crimes like police, problems with the family, everything else, everything you can imagine. If a soldier has like mental problems, of course he can go to a military psychologist, but first person he talks to in order to solve his problems is his sergeant, his NCO. In Russian army, NCOs don't exist, period. Russians don't really understand why the hell do they need sergeants. To them, sergeant is basically like a private, only with a different patch. That's all. And that is why all the responsibilities that in the proper army the sergeant does, in Russian army that is done by officer. And officer who has enormous amount of paperwork, who also should do some kind of planning, right? He's also responsible for all kinds of shit happening within his unit, within the personnel, among the men, you know. He has to solve that. He has to punish soldiers. He's the one who has to solve problems. And that is why Russian officers are mentally overloaded. They have so many problems they have to deal with, and of course the only escape is alcohol. That is why they drink like crazy. Russian officers, vodka, like, of course. And because of that, of course, they hate their personnel. In proper army, it's different. In proper army, your officer will barely see his soldiers. Like, no, it's not like that. His soldiers will barely see the officer, right? Sometimes, like once a month, because it's a proper thing to do. They should stay with their NCOs. This is how it works. NCO is the punishing hand of the officer. Officer is also the dude admired by his personnel. He's the guy who will gather his troops and say, hello guys, you look so cool today. I'm proud of you. You managed to accomplish these tasks. Guys, you're so good, you know? And then he goes back to his tent, and on his way he whispers to his NCO, like, you see those like lazy fucks, make them do push-ups, okay? And then the sergeant, the scary angry dude, he will make you suffer. This is how it works in the proper army, and this is how it's supposed to be, but Russians don't really understand that. That is the reason why they hate their commanders so much. Does the Ukrainian government provide help for their displaced people inside the country? Yes, of course. So there's a lot of camps built. There's a lot of organizations working with displaced people. They have all kinds of benefits when they want to rent apartment, etc., etc. Actually, you gotta ask this question to Rick the Ukrainian, who will be streaming in just 1 hour, and he will tell you a lot about it. He knows himself because Rick lived in the occupied Donetsk in the 14th, 15th, I believe. And after that, he moved back to the controlled part of Ukraine. And he can tell you a lot about how exactly the Ukrainian government helps the displaced people. Are you still using refrigerated rail cars to house orc cadavers? I haven't heard for a while about that one. For those who don't know, in 2022, Ukrainian government, Ukrainian authorities introduced this refrigerated train full of Russian bodies. It was during the first months when Russians were lying everybody that like 50 soldiers died in 3 months, okay, on the Russian side. And we already had like thousands of their bodies. That's why they were stored in the train. And we wanted to send this train to Russia, but Russians refused because that would be a huge, insane scandal, you know, like the whole train of refrigerated remains of Russian armies arrived to Russia. That would be insane shock. That's why they were refusing and rejecting the offer for quite a while. I don't know the fate of this train, but I will Google it. I've never considered that people in Russia kiss. Oh. Have you seen Brezhnev kissing? Oh my god. Brezhnev. Brezhnev liked to kiss. Seriously. Brezhnev was a man full of love back in those days. Soviet kiss. And the funniest thing is that, you know, those guys consider gays like extremists. That is why, again, people, whatever Russians are saying, you know, about rotting West, etc., they like to project big time. They really like to project. I've heard that, you know, the biggest homophobes are people who are like latent homosexuals themselves, but I'm not sure if it's true. Oh my god. Brezhnev was he was a risky man. He was indeed. Is Kuznetsov a coral reef yet? Admiral Kuznetsov is considered Russian flagship. It's a really good question, by the way. You know what? Let's check it out. Guys, you probably remember the photos of Russian flagship Kuznetsov smoking like a freaking sailor smoking a pipe. So something happened. Which year was that? Was it like before the invasion or already during the invasion? I don't remember exactly, but it was smoking like shit. My God. That is, by the way, not an aircraft carrier. According to Russian classification, it's not an aircraft carrier. That is a aircraft carrying cruiser. Why it is so is because Russian fleet and, for example, American fleet, they have absolutely different purpose. And if American ships have like, I'm not a sailor, but that from what I remember, if in the American fleet ships have their roles, in the Russian fleet, ships that also have their roles, but they carry tremendous amount of weapons. That stuff, the Russian ship Kuznetsov, the aircraft carrier that would be considered, for example, in the American fleet, that stuff also carries like missiles. I'm not sure if it carries torpedoes, probably it does. But United States and Soviet Union, currently Russia, they had absolutely different approach to creating the fleets. Are you sure it's not a pink band to support breast cancer? No, that is literally the Russian tourniquet. Again, it is so funny, you know, when you see like Russian Spetsnaz. Shit, do I have it here? Oh my god, Spetsnaz starter pack. Do I have it here? Oh my god, I was joking about it myself, you know, even back before the Russian invasion. No, I don't have it. Anyways, Russian Spetsnaz starter pack. So blue beret, mustache, fingerless gloves, and striped shirt. Okay, and like being drunk, of course, and S-Mark's tourniquet wrapped around the stock of the rifle. That is like literally Russian Spetsnaz starter pack. Why like fingerless gloves so cringy? The purpose of tactical gloves is to keep your fingers safe. It's when you grab a barrel of your machine gun or anything else, rifle or whatever. As a policeman, for example, I had those German gloves. They were black leather, and they were really, really cool because as a cop, we had to deal with all kinds of shit. syringes, like broken glass, people biting, etc., etc. And it's really hard. It's really tough when, for example, you're searching something in the dark and you stick this needle in your finger, and anything can be on that needle. Anything. That is why you have to wear gloves. Cops, military, it's better to have them, right? That is why gloves without fingers make absolutely no freaking sense. Absolutely. It looks cool on a photo, but in real life, it sucks. Then another thing that was widespread among Russians, unfortunately among Ukrainians too, don't strap your helmet, because when a bullet hits your helmet, it will break your neck. Literally, I don't remember probably even a single case of guys who would break their neck because of that. Seriously. And I served 9 years. Okay, I cannot say that I was the most insane commando you can imagine. No, I wasn't, but seen some shit. I have never seen that happening. First of all, helmets should not protect against bullets. They should protect against things that fall on your head from the sky. For example, after an artillery shell explosion, it's ground, it's stones, it's fragments, it's pieces of building, whatever, branches, and of course smaller fragments. Okay, bullets, they're not really made for this purpose. Another thing I saw, and this is what I really saw, a lot of cases of guys who would fall down from a vehicle and crash their freaking heads against the ground or against armor. No lethal cases, luckily, but there were cases with guys losing their teeth. Teeth, okay, but literally crashing their heads against hard things after falling down because their helmet flew away. It's from life. I saw that numerous times. That is why I would always fasten my helmet, in all cases. There is another stuff. It's from combat myths. Oh my god. Combat myths. Another myth is that it's better to ride on the armor than inside, because when you're hit by RPG, everybody inside dies, but everybody outside on the armor survives. Or if, for example, the armor gets runs over a mine, like an anti-tank mine, like TM, and explodes, you have more chance to survive if you are sitting on it. There are so many cases, and guys, it's really sad. It's sad that we have to learn this the hard way, but there are so many cases of guys sitting outside on the armor, and all kinds of shit is being shot at them. All kinds of calibers, big calibers, smaller calibers, fragments from the grenades, etc., while they could be easily, safe inside of the armor. And there were many cases when RPG would ricochet, the rocket would ricochet from the armor. And like I compared the cases when people would just, die sitting on the armor. The chances are so much higher. It's insane. I was talking about it back in the days, back in like 2016 probably. And we had our own holy wars back in those days in like forums and Facebook. Is the word COVID censored in this chat? What is COVID? I remember something like, COVID, something. Here I remember and here I don't. There are accounts for Serbian mercenaries fighting for Russia. How are Western POWs processed? How are African POWs processed? Are they traded back to Russia? I believe they are traded back to their country originally, because Russia, unless they have the Russian citizenship, they will be delivered back to their country. That is according to the international law, of course. Shit, what was the name of the gloves? One of my viewers actually sent them to me. It was back in 2015. I didn't have a lot of viewers those days, but there was a guy who sent them to me from Germany, and they were really good. You can see me wearing those gloves on numerous pictures. Let me see if I have some of them. Just a second. How to hide this? My God. Okay. No. 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 Anyways, they were really good. You can trust me. How is cameraman doing? Cameraman became a proud dad, and this is something you can congratulate him with. And not only that, also cameraman, you remember that he was my colleague, but we were from different units. Nowadays, cameraman is serving in my brigade, which is incredible gain for the 4th Operative Brigade of Hostomel, Rubij. That is incredible achievement. He's extremely cool cameraman. That is why I'm really happy. Basically, they work together with Max, and they're really happy. They're really good team. As a former head of the press service, I'm envying them in a good way. Are you thinking of getting another tattoo? Actually, yeah, I need to find some cases of, like some fresh cases of orcs being slaughtered by animals. I remember there was a parrot from the recent cases, a parrot, a kangaroo, and a camel. And the case with the camel, you can find it on YouTube. Is because a drunk Russian tourist decided to punch a camel, but because camels are extremely they're smart, but they can be like real savages. And the dude literally grabbed the orc across his chest and smacked him and made him a better person. Why does Putin wear his watch on his right hand? I think, Apparently, it's because his image makers advised him so. You often can see Putin wearing red tie because it's something that attracts attention, not overly, but to the proper extent, attracts attention to the person speaking. Watch on his right hand is because apparently his team advised him so. One thing I don't understand about Putin is when he walks, his right hand is stuck to his body, when he waves his left hand, because he wants to show everybody that he's carrying a gun, because he wants everybody to know that Putin is carrying a handgun. And I had a handgun for many years when I served, and I tried walking in different ways, and nothing happens. You can walk properly without attracting attention. You can walk like a normal human if you have a handgun, apparently. Remember the Russian in Thailand who was... Oh my god, that was a sad story actually. The dude went to hospital. But if he was slaughtered by the cow, I think I would really have to make another tattoo. Seriously. In the end, I would end up having whole zoo on my arms, apparently on my back, I don't know. All kinds of creatures. Because nature hates orcs. I thought the goofy Putin walk was him copying Stalin. It's a different story. Stalin had some kind of disease. I don't remember exactly, but he had a disease. His arm, as far as I remember, was kind of shorter than his other arm. But in case of Putin, it's literally to show off. It's, guys, you have to understand one thing. Putin is extremely short person. He's tiny. He's 150, 160. He's tiny. And this is why he has this complex. First of all, he's wearing high heels in order to look taller, maybe 5 centimeters taller. I don't know, 6 centimeters taller, but he's wearing high heels. And this is something he doesn't want people to know. But what he wants people to know is that he's carrying a handgun, that he's dangerous, he's tiny, but he's a macho. Did the raccoon that was stolen from Ukraine zoo ever got returned? Actually, his trace is lost in Russia somewhere. They never returned the tattoo. The raccoon. Have you viewed Sanctioned Ivan? Maybe invited, joined live stream. Actually, we will have several streams soon. How did a low-rank KGB thug like Putin became the leader of the Russian nation? Oh, so Putin in KGB, besides carrying bag after the chief of the KGB, just because, my God, So Putin was known for Putin was known for carrying suitcase for his chief. I think his chief was Sobchak. What was his name? Anyways, he was carrying a suitcase for the KGB chief. He was his boy. And there's a lot of pictures of him back in those days. He was just a tiny guy carrying a suitcase. Absolutely. Oh, guys, you should be like not scared, but stay away from tiny people, okay? And tiny not even in terms of height, but in terms of their role. You should stay away from those people. They are extremely dangerous. But Putin had a specific role in the KGB. Back in those days, late 80s, Putin was responsible for finance flows among like Russian criminal groups, because Russian criminal groups were controlled and infiltrated by KGB big time, and Putin was responsible for those. And because it means money, he became extremely rich. That was his first step towards becoming a ruler of the Russian nation. Again, Russian nation nowadays, as well as for the past 20 years, is basically ran by tiny dude wearing high heels who used to carry suitcase. He was a suitcase boy. But you know what they say, we all have what we deserve. Did Sobchak do Putin? I don't know, my friends. Could be. However, you know, considering the reason why Litvinenko was murdered, I think that Putin always had, you know, more exotic tastes, if we can call it this way. Tiny like a Trump rally. Yeah, something like that. You know, some people like to wear high heels when they're short. They like to carry a handgun and show everybody, you know, this is how I walk because I'm armed. You know, you cannot carry a handgun, and I can because I'm a Russian president. Others do some kind of yellow shit on their face. I don't know. We all do crazy stuff when we're not comfortable with our appearance. Didn't he have basically a desk job in East Germany? That is something that I remember. Again, in the East Germany, KGB was the force that gave birth to Stasi. Stasi was copy-pasted from KGB. And basically, Stasi were controlled by KGB. I know what I'm talking about because I've been to the Museum of Stasi in Berlin. And by the way, this place is absolutely amazing. If you happen to find yourself in Berlin, you gotta visit it. You will find a lot of extremely interesting things. And archives, of course. They are insane. Yesterday was Borscht Day. Really? Oh my god. But have you ever tried cold borscht? I tried cold Ukrainian borscht, and by the way, much love to Lithuania. I tried cold Ukrainian borscht, and it's cool. The reason why Ukrainian borscht is cool is because it has one taste, one specific taste when it's hot. When you drop sour cream in it to make it colder, it has absolutely different taste. Then when it gets colder, it has third sort of taste. And when you drop sour cream into the cold borscht, it has like fourth type of taste. So this is why it's so cool. If Putin is so small, how he's able to wrestle bears and ride a horse topless and look so manly? Apparently it's because he was wrestling like tiny bears and rode like tiny horse. Maybe. Apparently that's the reason. I mean, I can easily wrestle a bear, trust me, but that will be like very, very tiny bear. Oh, this one is cool. My question is random for this stream. What are Ukrainian ration packs like? And if you've tried other countries, who has the tastiest and most disgusting? Ukrainian ration packs are extremely cool, and I'm talking about the new ones. Old ones sucked. So the one that we have now, it consists of, it was planned that there would be like 120 different menus, and I'm not kidding because I've been to the military exhibition. Back in the days, like 2019, I was making blogs about military life for the Ukrainian audience, and I visited one of the stands at the exhibition in Kiev, and I talked about the new rations. So they are extremely cool. Our brigade was one of the brigades that were testing those rations back in like 2016. So they are kind of similar to American ones because we have this heating mechanism. You drop some water in it or you can spit in it, and this heater starts producing heat, and you can warm up your food. At the same time, food that comes in packs, like plastic packs, it's really, really tasty even when it's cold. Like, even if you don't warm it up, it still tastes really, really good. We had the unboxing of Ukrainian military ration back with Andrew Mercado and Alex, and you can check it out somewhere among his videos. It was so good. I ate 2 packs, actually. The tastiest one among all the NATO countries and the richest one is, of course, French military ration. German is not bad, but you have to love Germany if you want to like the German military ration. It's not bad, but really specific. French is the richest and the tastiest one. It's basically a huge box with a lot of yummies packed really, really tightly inside the box. It's good. The most disgusting one is, of course, Russian military ration. Despite, all those beautiful packaging and stuff, it sucks balls. It smells like shit. It tastes like ass. At least I imagine that. Why do I even imagine this? But it's so bad. It's really, really bad. It tastes exactly the way it looks. Just so you know. The only thing I tried from... the only thing I was brave enough to try from the Russian military ration was sugar, of course, because I consume a lot of sugar. And it was, I believe, some kind of water, drink. You put it into the water and you stir it and you have like a drink. That didn't turn me into an orc. Hopefully, I waited for 24 hours. Like, I'm still myself. Italian MRE, I didn't try. But I would love to, by the way. So that's the story. But of course, there are cases when you have no other option but to eat freaking Russian MRE. The guys that are fighting at the front line right now, as well as the guys that were kept in the Russian prison and then exchanged, they were given sometimes the Russian MREs. My friend Bogdan brought a Russian MRE from the Russian prison, and I didn't even want to try it. It's so bad. And I'm not easily disgusted, guys. Back in the days, I even had to eat a tiny hedgehog. Unfortunately, it's something that I still regret because I almost died. Don't do that, okay? Cats are much more tastier, but I'm not easily disgusted. Did anyone see the Squire parody video if Saving Private Ryan was a Russian? Gotta check it out, actually, yeah. Squire does a lot of... no squirrel? No squirrel. No squirrel. Scottish whiskey. I would really like to try, but I'm not a big fan of like strong alcohol. And frankly speaking, not a big fan of alcohol at all. Back in Kiev, I still have a bottle of sake that was brought to me by Andrew Mercado from a legendary Japanese volunteer stationed in Kharkiv. And that is the first strong alcohol that I will be drinking after the Ukrainian victory. What's wrong with hedgehog? So, Cheryl, first of all, they're kind of fat, and if you eat a hedgehog, there's a really high risk of, like, even if it's toasted, there's a really high risk that you will acquire a reactive diarrhea and die in like 3 days. I survived, but it was bad. It was. I wished, I died. It was really bad, guys. Don't do that. Hedgehogs are not the proper food. Rice wine. I think it's like rice vodka. It's considered rice vodka, at least. I don't know. But it tastes so good. I love sake from the times when I was a student, probably. I don't know. But it's really good. And a lot of people don't understand it. They go like, for vodka, it's too soft. As for like other type of alcohol, it's too weird. You have to drink it hot and stuff. But I found my taste, That is something I would definitely drink if there was no war. Here in Canada, we can eat hedgehogs only if we're lost in the woods and have nothing to eat. They say you can eat it raw. I don't know whether the hedgehogs in Canada are different from Ukrainian hedgehogs, but that was exactly the reason why we ate a hedgehog back in those days. And it nearly brought us to our extremely horrible demise. That's why I would not recommend. I don't drink because I have no drink left in the house. Not even water? My granddad fled Poland as part of tank regiment. He said he did in house, and there was a full meal served on the table. Ate it, stole a Bible, and left. He went back and returned the Bible 20 years later. Oh my God, your granddad is amazing person. Big respect. Many sake distilleries make really good scotch in their off season. I don't know. Maybe, I will try because, really, when I served, I didn't drink often. And by often, I mean I would drink like once in a year, once in 2 years, not even on my birthday. Because when I served, I didn't really have time to celebrate birthdays, let alone, like traveling somewhere. And when I have opportunity, maybe I will try. But currently, I discovered a lot of really, really good alcohol-free beer here in like local stores. And they are just, I just enjoy, I enjoy being sober and drinking beer. Terrible floods in Poland right now. Oh my God. I heard about this. I heard there was a storm notification, not only in Poland, by the way, but also in Germany, in eastern and southern part. So I hope the guys, if you're watching here, if you're watching this in eastern and southern Germany, Bavaria, I wish you all the best. I hope you're safe. Raccoon tastes great. I hope I will never have a chance to try. You shouldn't eat any animal raw that are known for having lots of parasites like hedgehogs or badgers. That is the thing. Exactly. On the other hand, though, there's moose. Moose is known for having a lot of parasites like ticks, but the meat of a moose is so good. So I don't know what it depends on. On the other hand, generally hedgehogs, they're predators. Badgers, they're the same, they're omnivorous. And usually humans don't eat anything else besides like herbivorous animals. I don't know why. I never checked why, but that's the fact. Besides fish, of course. Emergency vodka. Oh, Michael, I will tell you a story. So I talked to our military psychologists. They told me that according to the instruction, and this is like top secret, nobody knows. According to the instruction in the Ukrainian army, military psychologist, usually it's an officer, of course, military psychologist should have like a bottle of cognac in the bag, and he cannot or she cannot drink it. It's specifically for the purpose of, you know, working with the person, with the patient, because sometimes it's needed. This was told to me by a real Ukrainian military psychologist. I didn't check, but I heard it several times. Скоро ми будемо говорити українською добре. You're doing really, really well. And це успіх, на мою думку. By the way, if you want to learn how to say hello to make Ukrainians smile, you can say Добрий вечір, ми з України. It means good evening, we're from Ukraine. They will all laugh. Trust me. Доброго вечора, ми з України. I will drop it in the chat. Oh my god. Come on. Why every single time when I type something, I have a wrong language selected? Доброго вечора. Ми з України. That. Good evening, we're from Ukraine. They will love you instantly. Hello from Romania. Hello to beautiful Romania. I hope you're doing well. Homemade mead hits like a mule. Oh yeah. I remember when I was young, like 2008, maybe 2006, we traveled to this amazing place in Lviv. There's like underground restaurant. And so there is like Ukrainian partisan standing there on the door. Russians say that this restaurant is an example of like ultra-right Ukrainian nationalism, because when you want to enter the restaurant, you have to pass by this man, the like Ukrainian, you know, insurgent with the rifle, and he usually asks, "Are there Russians among you?" You know, and it was like way before the Russian invasion, and Russians were like, "Oh my God, this is like Ukrainian nationalists, Russophobia," and generally he would give you a glass of homemade mead, which was so good, and it was so tasty and sweet, and I remember it until this day. Never tried anything like that. But it's when you say that there are no Russians among you, okay? But when you say that there are Russians among you, he will give you two. And that is something that nobody tried. I freaking tried, and this is how it works. He gives you two. There's nothing about like Ukrainian far right, Nazi in Ukraine. Stupid Russian fucks. Yeah, but the meat was, it was fantastic. It was like warm and soft. Oh my god. I have never tried mead. I always wanted to. You know, I don't know what to suggest, because I searched for like proper mead. I didn't search like a lot, but I couldn't find the one that they served back then in Lviv, in that restaurant. It was just so like soft and mild and strong at the same time, and like warm, you know. Oh my god. One thing I tried though is schnapps. Peach schnapps is something that will make you really, really happy. Why will they love us when we say this greeting? It's because there is this famous Ukrainian song, like not like song, but soundtrack, okay, like musical composition, that was played in Ukraine everywhere. And it's made by... Just a second. Доброго вечора. Ми з України. Probus Hardy. Good evening. Yeah, this one. I will drop it in the chat. Okay. And I will also type the name of this song. It's Probus Hardy. Good evening. You can find it on YouTube. So this song was everywhere on the Ukrainian television, literally everywhere. It's a song that serves as a soundtrack for all videos portraying Ukrainian army eliminating orcs, Ukrainian airplanes shooting, you know, Probus and Hardy. They are extremely, extremely famous in Ukraine, because everybody heard them. Everybody. If you watch news, you hear them 100%. That is why, and that in this song, there is this phrase, Доброго вечора, ми з України. So when you say that to Ukrainians, they will love you. That's 100%. Here in Poland, about 20 kilometers from Ukraine, we had a sunny day. We had a sunny day too in my area in Germany, but I received like this storm notification. We will see. Maybe it will change. Okay, my dear friends, in just 10 minutes, Rick the Ukrainian will be streaming on his channel. I would really, really recommend you to visit the stream. Rick the Ukrainian. I will drop the link for you guys to make sure you don't miss it. Yeah, there it is. That is his channel. Guys, please make sure to visit his channel. Again, he said that it's not 100% that he will be streaming today because the situation with the electricity in Ukraine is very much different everywhere. But he will try. Please check it out. One thing I wanted to say is big thanks to our glorious moderators, our brave bot fighters and bot slayers. And also big thanks to everybody who supports Ukraine. Guys, you are amazing, and what you're doing is absolutely fantastic because you are saving lives. You are lifesavers. There's a lot of Ukrainians that probably won't even know that, you know, some of you contributed to the fact that they are alive, but this is why I'm here to tell you about this. They are alive thanks to you. Guys, I love you so much. It was a pleasure. We'll see you next time. And don't forget to check my bro, your favorite YouTuber, Rick the Ukrainian. Be safe, especially there in Poland and Bavaria. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.